I am very excited about this one because, as we were just discussing, I have known Alexandra Levit, I guess, for 20 years now, 15 years. How old are we? I don't know. But I first met her back when I was at the Washington Post writing a career advice column. And so I've been really, really delighted to see the twists and turns and developments that her career has taken through this time, as well as her personal life. So I am pleased to introduce you today to my other friend, Hillary Clayson, who is the is the founder and CEO of Best Selfie, which is a coaching platform for basically learning to self-lead your own professional development. And thanks to Hillary's generosity, every person who registers for Shift has a free 3-month subscription to the platform, which I just think is awesome of her to let us all try it out like that. And I think it's a great, great platform. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to Hillary. She's going to introduce Alexandra Levit more fully, and I'm going to let them kick this off. We're going to talk about career durability today. Thanks, y'all.
Mary Ellen.
Thanks, Mary Ellen. Excellent. Well, I'm pleased to introduce you to Alexandra Levit, who is the founder and CEO of Inspiration at Work. And her goal is to truly prepare organizations and actually all their employees to be competitive and marketable in the future business world. She, as Marianne said, is a former nationally syndicated columnist for the Wall Street Journal and writer for the New York Times, Fast Company, Forbes, and is an international best-selling author. One of her best books, really, or two, is They Don't Teach Corporate in College, which is so true, and Humanity Works, Merging People and Technologies for the Workforce of the Future. And as a workforce technologist, Alexandra, I can't wait to dive into talk about career durability and building essential competencies for your future career. So over to you, and encourage everybody, after we hear Alexandra, to start to participate and ask some great questions.
Okay. Thanks, Hillary. Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. I am thrilled to be here today at Shift. We're going to start with a poll. I want us to work together. So answer this question. You don't need to give it too much thought. First blush reaction, has COVID-19 disrupted your career this year? We're just going to give everybody a couple of minutes to choose the first answer that comes to mind. Okay, so far, it's looking like a lot of people are saying it has disrupted their careers in some capacity. I would be very interested if you would type into the chat function exactly what you mean by that. Oh, I see, but the numbers of no's are going up. So that's good news. Well, hopefully the rest of this session is going to be a good primer for whether your career has been disrupted or not, what you can do to remain gainfully employed in the workforce of the future. My career, as Mary Ellen alluded to, was a little bit windy. I started off in public relations at a top Fortune 500 software firm. And then gradually, I realized that my boss did not like me at all. I had such a hard time that no matter what grades I got in school, no matter how hard I tried, no matter how much work product I produced, I could not get ahead. So finally, my boss took pity on me and sent me to a professional development class that was called Dale Carnegie. And this light bulb went off. I was like, wow, someone should really teach other 20-somethings about how they need to act, what they need to do to be successful in the workforce. And that was when I wrote my first book, which, as Mary Ellen mentioned, is called They Don't Teach Corporate in College, a 20-somethings guide to the business world. And that was when everything turned around for me. All of a sudden, I started getting asked to speak about issues facing young professionals. And as I got a little bit older, I transitioned my advice a little bit more to people who were also in mid-career and later career. And over the last several years, I have prided myself on doing what's hopefully helpful research around what we can do as our careers are disrupted, as things are changing, in order to ensure that we can have the meaningful work that we want to have. And if I can tell you all one thing that you can walk out of here and say, yes, I know one thing that I can do to help me get ahead in my career, then I will have done my job. A little survey that we did a few months ago, actually did it with DeVry University. I thought I would share some of this data with you because you all are not alone. 1 in 4 people said they were thinking of changing careers due to COVID-19. Of people that were employed, 31% were concerned that either a lack of hard skills or certifications made them vulnerable. Now, this number actually seems a little bit low to me. I'm sort of surprised that more people don't feel vulnerable, but okay, people are positive and that's a good thing. Respondents were almost equally worried about a lack of soft skills or network. So again, not as many people are worried as I would necessarily expect. Almost half said they are confident in their ability to keep or find jobs. And 39% do not plan on doing anything to boost their employability. Now, that's probably not the percentage of people who are in this audience today. I think you all are here today at Shift because you are wanting to do things to improve your career durability and your employability. And I hope that you will definitely learn some strategies so that you can be in that 60% of people that is actively trying to boost their careers. Another let's work together. This will help us determine a sense of urgency. Do you fear your employability is in jeopardy within the next year? So that could mean that you're in a profession that you think is on the outs, that you're in a job where you think it's not secure, that you're thinking of making a change because there's an interpersonal relationship at work that might not be working out for you. Any of those answers would be legitimate here. Start to look at the answers here. Oh, this is interesting. Okay. So far, your answers are aligning very, very well with the survey that DeVry University did. About half of you are saying, I don't think it's in jeopardy. I think I'm okay. I think I'm doing all right. And so far, about a little less than half are saying, yeah, there's probably going to be some changes that are going to affect me and I need to be prepared. Excellent. Thank you so much for all of you who are participating in the polls. I know sometimes you come to a quick session like this, you think there's not going to be interactivity, but with me, there's always some interactivity. So thanks for bearing with me. On to the topic of career durability. This is where we're going to spend about the next 10 minutes. What is it? Well, first of all, DeVry University and I did make up this term. Sometimes I will have to give other people credit and say, I didn't come up with this, but this is something that I have coined to describe the process of acquiring the skills, the mindset, and the knowledge to be an engaged and productive member of the workforce continuously. And this continuously is a very, very important part because we want to work as long as we want to work. We don't want to be told we're too old to have a job, that we're in a different season of our career and it doesn't work any longer. We want to be able to dial up and dial down as our lifestyle dictates, but we want to do it on our terms, and that's career durability. There are 5 core pillars of career durability, and we're going to delve into each one of these in a little bit of detail. Some of them you're going to be familiar with, you will have heard before, and some of them might be a little bit new, but combined together, they really present a very full, rich picture of somebody who has career durability, and they are soft skills, hard skills, what I'm going to call applied technology skills. Hold on to your hats. I will explain what that means. Institutional knowledge and mindset, specifically a growth mindset. We'll start with the easy ones, the ones that you're probably a little bit more familiar with. Soft skills. Now, I start with a definition of soft skills because, believe it or not, it depends on who you ask what a soft skill actually is. But I think it's an interpersonal attribute that you need in order to collaborate successfully with others at work. They are important today because of a little work that I do around human and machine integration. We have more and more smart machines taking over work tasks. This is only going to increase. And so soft skills like empathy, intuition, diplomacy, judgment, and problem solving are what are going to set humans apart. There is going to need to be a great deal of oversight of machine partners, and a lot of jobs will be created for that express purpose. Well, in order to be able to hold those jobs, you've got to be the one who can't just program, but also understands the nuances of what motivates other people. How might you get them? Well, you're probably familiar with some of these suggestions. I talked about Dale Carnegie. That was how I got them. He wrote a great book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. I was also lucky enough to have Stephen Covey as a mentor before he passed away many years ago, who wrote a great book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Mentorship's a great way. Personality assessments and their corresponding recommendations are great. And finally, on-the-job experience. This is tough when we're working in a hybrid environment, but we really do need to do everything we can to connect with people as closely as possible in order to keep our soft skills fresh. Hard skills. This is another one where there are some nuances. What exactly is a hard skill? Well, I view it as a teachable skill in a specific area for which learning can be measured. With a hard skill, you either know it or you don't. It's something like a phlebotomist, if you're familiar with that job. They give people shots, they take blood. You either know how to insert a needle or you don't. That's a hard skill. And if you get a job that requires certain hard skills, you've got to be able to do it immediately. You're not going to get hired as a phlebotomist if you can't insert a needle, right? You're going to have to know it right off the bat. For the patience to train people on these kinds of skills is pretty low. So hard skills, you've got to have a bulletproof knowledge going into a job that you can do it. How might you get them? It's easier than ever. Back in the day, you would have to get a very, very specific degree. You would have to do a very specific training course. But now there are so many online courses, certifications, and micro-credentials that train you in so many diverse areas. I wanted to learn data analytics. So I went and I took a free course from IBM last year. It's something that I didn't really need to know too many of the specifics, but I did need to know enough to talk about it intelligently. And there is an online course for every situation. So if there are hard skills that you're missing that you think you might need, I encourage you to check these out. Applied technology skills. I promised I would explain what these are. Applied technology skills are the ability to leverage people, processes, data, and devices to do your job more efficiently. They are important today because technology only exists to augment human work. But do you know what technology is actually out there and how to use it that can help you do your job better? So I use the example of data analytics. For me, understanding how data analytics works is an applied technology skill. I don't need to know how to go in and code algorithms. I don't even really need to know how to explain the results of analytics applications to people. But I do need to know why you might use them in certain situations. So that's a really great example. And in the research that we did with DeVry University's Career Advisory Board a little while back, 70% of employers said proof of applied technology skills made job candidates stand out. So they weren't necessarily in IT, they weren't necessarily in computer science, but whatever field they were in, they knew that there was a software program, for example, that would help them do their jobs better. They knew that the technology existed, where to get it, and how to use it. Solo exploration and investigation is a great way to get applied technology skills. I mean, I was just talking with somebody earlier about this platform for video conferencing and for presentations. Well, that's an example of me improving my applied technology skills. I do a ton of presentations like this, and I want to use the best, most reliable software possible. So I always have to be on the lookout. And I think that's the best way to acquire applied technology skills. Next, we have institutional knowledge. And this is really, really important for those of you who have decades of experience under your belt, because the truth is that there is a certain value that cannot be overstated for the job or industry-specific expertise that is gained through experience or tenure. Some things can only be learned by facing the same scenario multiple times over a career lifespan. One of my favorite examples, I work a little bit with guys and women who have worked on the railroad. And in working on the railroad, you have seen everything. There is nothing that's going to come down those tracks that has not happened to you before. And that is extraordinarily important, particularly in a crisis situation. So how do you get institutional knowledge? Well, the answer, fortunately or unfortunately, is time. You stay in one company or in one industry, but you gain cross-functional or adjacent expertise in other areas. You might be getting bored at one point, but you can easily try to acquire different sorts of skills by shadowing other people in other groups, doing informational interviewing, and volunteering in different areas of the organization. That's a way to freshen up your career and learn new skills while still building on that foundation of institutional knowledge that if you are going into a similar company in the same industry, they're going to think is invaluable. Our final pillar of career durability is mindset, and specifically a growth mindset. This is an attitude that influences how an individual sees their world and that motivates them to change, learn, and grow. It's important today because all learning, all growth is pretty much self-directed. And when you are curious, when you're agile, and when you have a drive to improve, you are going to be more successful than people who do not have those characteristics. How might you get it? Doing evaluations. I know it's tough to seek that feedback from managers and peers, but it really is the best way that you're going to get better at this. Accepting that you're going to try new things and you're going to fail if you put yourself out there, being able to implement constructive feedback rather than getting defensive about it, practicing intrapreneurship or entrepreneurial strategies within the context of a larger organization, and reading inspirational books and listening to podcasts, and practice. I can tell you all very transparently, I was on a presentation earlier this week where my Wi-Fi went down not once but twice, and I had to dial back in and maintain my cool and pick up the presentation where I left off and try to make sure that it made sense. Was that a good thing that happened? No. Was it disruptive? Absolutely. But these things are going to happen. And the fact is, when we look at society at large, we see that, hey, this pandemic is not over yet. We could have another pandemic. We could have an adverse climate event. We could have an unexpected technology that comes in and disrupts our everyday work operations. There are lots of things that can happen, but when you have a positive mindset, you can get through anything. How can you maintain your career durability? We're going to go to questions in a minute, but I have a couple of quick suggestions. Again, I want you all to be able to leave with 1 or 2 ideas that you can use to really take your own career durability to the next level. Number 1, be a futurist. So this is one of the aspects of my job today. A futurist just means someone who's looking at trends that are percolating up through the market, through society, through the work world, and tries to determine where the next disruption is going to come from. So I want you all to walk away today and think about what's coming next in your profession or industry specifically, and where there are gaps that need to be filled. So going back to the skills that you might want to be developing, well, what is coming down the pike? Where is automation taking over? Where are human skills going to be needed? Just asking you to think about those things. Prepare that your job might become a super job. There might be 2 jobs that become combined because machines have taken over certain critical elements. They might have been separate, they're going to be together, and you might have to learn new things, and it might be on the fly. So again, try to look as much as you can a couple years into the future and see where things are heading. If you are currently employed, please take advantage of employer-driven upskilling and reskilling efforts. So upskilling means you're keeping your current job and you're going to gain some additional skills that will help you do it better. Applied technology skills is a great example of that. Reskilling is your job's not going to exist for whatever reason, and you've got to learn to do something that is completely different. So you need to do both, and hopefully your employer is providing mechanisms for you to do it. If they are, make sure you take advantage of these. Tap into your own rivers of information. We all have a bunch of training resources at our disposal. I even use Reddit as a river of information sometimes because I love reading it. It gives me quick answer. A lot of times the answers are very targeted and from people with similar expertise. So everyone's going to have their own mix. Figure out what your mix is and then consult it regularly. A lot of you are job searching. That's why you're here today. You want to be communicating examples of all 5 career durability pillars. So again, those are hard skills, soft skills, applied technology skills, institutional knowledge, and a growth mindset on your resume and in interviews. Employers are looking for the full package. And then finally, as I mentioned, we are not going to be done with disruption. I think this is going to be a period of a couple of decades where things are going to be a little rocky. And so you do yourself a grave disservice if you do not have crisis management skills and that inherent agility that allows you to pivot seamlessly from one thing to another if the way that you were expecting things to work out doesn't quite work out that way. We're going to do a final poll before we go to questions. Here it is. Do you now have at least one new idea you can implement immediately to increase your career durability? So one more time, those are improving your hard skills, your soft skills, your applied technology skills, your institutional knowledge, and the ability to have a growth mindset. Yes, no, or I'm not sure. I had too many windows or tabs open while you were talking, Alex. All right, we've got a bunch of people that are saying yes. A couple people need to think about it a little bit more, maybe go back through the slides, which you will certainly get, so no worries about that. All right, well, I will now, Hillary, give everybody the opportunity to ask some questions live. If there's any question that we don't get to, folks, please, by all means, email me. I am happy to help out and contact you at any time to answer questions that we do not get to. Hillary, over to you.
Thank you, Alexandra. So everybody, please post in the Q&A, would be fantastic. So you see the Q&A, and I'm seeing some things flying from chat to, as we're starting to collect some of the questions. Alexandra, the 5 pillars, what do you think is most important right now? Which one? Would you have a ranking system?
That's a really good question. And I love it when I get asked a question that I really haven't had to answer before. I'm going to say a growth mindset is number 1. And then I would say applied technology skills. And this is cheating a little bit, Hillary, but applied technology skills with a bent toward the soft skills that are going to be involved with working with machines. So that oversight role and the role of being what I call an explainer, or somebody who can derive critical business insights from machine input and explain how the machine came up with that data to other human beings. There is no substitute for this kind of expertise within an organization, and I just don't see it a lot. I see people not really understanding what value the machine is bringing. I see a lot of inconsistent data from different systems that people don't know how to make sense of, and I think that is a wide open opportunity. And the best thing is, you don't have to be at a particular level or in a particular function. Regardless of your level or function, you're going to need those applied technology skills. And the more you are able to pop in and say, I know what software we can use here, I know how it works, I know how to explain it, and I know how to get the best results out of it, and I know how to integrate it with everything else, the better off you're going to be. Great one.
Excellent. And to that, we do have in the chat, Caesar, thank you for posting this, is how long do you think this process takes if we were going to upskill or to look at different ways that we're going to see, or even your best example, like being the expert? I know which technology we need for this. Give us some idea of what you're seeing in some of the trends.
Yeah, I mean, this is good. And I think you have to look at it as a lifelong pursuit. So many of us grew up with the mentality that we would go to elementary, junior high, high school, then college, and maybe graduate school. But definitely after graduate school, we were done learning. And we've really got to shift that, because things are changing so rapidly that the skills that we needed as an employee or a leader a few years ago or even last year are not going to be the same tomorrow, or not going to be the same next year. So you have to, I think, do a very, very clear inventory every 6 months or so of what are you being asked for in your job? Where is an area that you could add value that you haven't explored before? And then honestly, finding the resources, I think, is the easy part. I think you're right that the difficult part of this is that first part of determining what you should do. And I think it's asking people who are doing it really well, who have come into a meeting sort of unexpectedly and being like, you know what, I saw this technology. I mean, let me give you another quick example of this. I do nothing in commercial real estate, but I have a client who's in commercial real estate and is trying to figure out, we have all these empty office buildings downtown. What are we going to do? How are we going to keep our business sustained? And I'm thinking, and I'm remembering this one virtual business office that I have played around with. And I realized that from a commercial real estate perspective, they could adopt this technology to design an office similar to the physical one that they designed, but would allow employees to work in a virtual office that looked like their physical office and have kind of a seamless, connected, integrated employee experience. And they would pay for that. So you could almost lease out this virtual space. And I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't been constantly poking around workforce technologies, things that were hot that someone had invited me to try it out, and I decided to go for it. And I was able to make a recommendation. That's a great example of an applied technology skill. It's not something directly related to what my everyday responsibilities are, but it was a way that I could leverage technology to add value. Good question.
Excellent. Yeah. There's another a specific example from Hannah Mary A. And she said, my manager wanted me to get a certification in HR and paralegal and at the expense of the company. Now that I have them and been working with the new hard skill, I am doing a lot more valuable work than ever before. I feel like I would like promotion, but I don't know where the line is. So when is the time, and this is a great thing as we're shifting, is being out there, being courageous and asking, well, wait, what's next for me, right? Or how can I start to shape my role? We've had that discussion before. How many roles we won't even know what's going to come in 10 years. I mean, when we look back, like a data scientist 10 years ago didn't quite exist. But just for Hannah, just to kind of understand this, when is it time to be able to, ask for what's next?
Oh, I love this question. And first of all, thank you for doing the work. Thank you for actually going out and getting the certifications that are going to allow you to increase your career durability. I think that now that you've done that, you've taken your skills to the next level, and you should be rewarded for that. So I think it's very important to be proactive. This is a great time to be proactive, by the way. We've got a trend I'm watching called the Great Resignation, which is going to involve a couple different factors coming together that will have a lot of people quitting their jobs, and employers are going to be struggling to retain their top talent. And so I think you want to be diplomatic. You want to show how your new skills are going to benefit the organization. You want to show that you are enthusiastic for working at the organization, that you do see your future with them, and that you do see that you have additional opportunities to contribute. And you just throw your hat in the ring and try to make it happen. I don't think you wait for an opening. I don't think you wait for a performance review. I think this is a perfect time. Employers are really starting to reevaluate at this exact juncture who their valuable people are. And in the next, if there's a second place to this, I say in 6 months would also be a really good time, because by that time, employers are starting to feel the pain.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Final question from Jean P. And I think similarly asking, when, budgets are tight, we're pinching pennies, we're really looking at stock price, et cetera. What are the strategies for keeping your job when the company maybe has other priorities, as in we need to stay afloat? What could one do?
Well, my favorite example of this was what happened last summer with a lot of internships. So a lot of college students last summer, because of the pandemic, received form emails saying their internships have been canceled. And what I recommended to those folks is that they go back to the company. They basically don't take that, don't take no for an answer, and say, actually, what types of digital transformation initiatives are you struggling with during this pandemic? And how can I help? I know how to develop applications, whatever it is you know how to do. I'm not saying it has to be technology based, but you come and you continuously add value in a way that maybe your employer didn't expect. And it shows that you can learn. It shows that you are agile. It shows that you can survive disruption. It shows that you have a good attitude. I mean, it really says so much about you as an employee when you do things like that. When you ask, how can I step out of the box and give you what you need at this given time? Because we are in so much crisis that they are really looking for people who can pivot on a dime as necessary. And that's what career durability is all about.
Perfect. And you also said growth mindset, and that was a perfect example of that, is being open, right? Being able to say, I can do this, even if you don't know. Go out and seek that. Thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure to have the chat. If there's anything, as we said, Alexandra's there to take questions. Feel free to contact myself as well. So we're going to be heading into the next session, right, Mary Ellen?
Yes. Thank you both. Our next session is going to be with Andy Storch. And so we're going to talk about developing resilience and overcoming challenges. So that seems like a great segue from this conversation. So thank you both so much. And I'll see you in the next session.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.